世界はますますグローバル化しています。その中で日本はどうしたらリーダーシップを発揮できるか、その課題に迫ります。
Going out more. Your young people must go out more, but encourage people to come in and see Japan.
人間性が分かるっていうことが大事ですよね。
世界的作家ジェフリー・アーチャー、エコノミストロバート・フェルドマンをはじめ多彩なゲストが語る日本への提言。リーダーズオンステージ。世界中でグローバル化が叫ばれている昨今、私たち日本人もその渦中にいる。しかし真のグローバルパーソンとは何なのか、日本はグローバル化しているのか。元イギリス上院下院議員で保守党副幹事長まで務めた世界的作家ジェフリー・アーチャー氏に日本人のグローバル化について聞いた。
Okay, Jeffrey, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you again.
Nice to see you.
Welcome to my home.
Thank you. それでは初めに、ジェフリーさんのグローバルパーソンとはどういう人かという彼の定義を聞いてみたいと思います。First of all, Jeffrey, could you please tell me your personal definition of a global person or, say, global company?
Well, you have to be international, and you have to be able to see different markets. For example, when I sell my books, it's a very different market, Japan, and I have learnt to try and understand it, not say, I am going to impose the British system on you. That won't work. The Japanese have their own ways. And equally, any other nation has to say, well, how do the British work? Or how do the Americans work? Or how do the Russians work? Because it can be absolutely, totally different. For example, the French don't like hardback books.
Oh, really?
The English love them.
Sure.
So when my books are sold in France, they're same size, the big book, but they're sold with a soft cover. And that is the way they do things in France. And we don't say, you must have a hardback because we British know better. We know that the French like buying their books that way. They look like airport books. You probably think of them as airport books. But that is the way. So each country you have to think. Now, I am slightly puzzled by the question, and I'll tell you why. I am only telling you something that the head of Sony, a great man, truly great man, I had the privilege and honor not only of knowing, but being present when he got his knighthood, he wouldn't have been needed to tell these things. He could fly into Germany and sell Sony to the Germans.
Oh,
he
you
could
mean
fly into America.
Mr. Akio Morita.
The great Mr. Morita.
森田昭夫、伊深勝とともにソニーを創業した。技術者出身にもかかわらず営業の第一線で活躍し、日本初のトランジスタラジオや世界的ヒット商品ウォークマンを世に送り込み、ソニーの名を世界中に轟かせた。半世紀でソニーを世界有数の企業に育てた戦後日本を代表する国際的な経済人である。
He could sell Sony to the Americans. He could sell Sony to the British. And he was able to adapt. And I think the great secret is to be able to adapt. But why are you asking the question? Because that was 20 years ago when you were dominating the world. You were the world leader. Everybody looked upon Japan as the great nation to follow. And Mr. Morita, there were lots of Mr. Moritas. So where are they now?
Well, Jeffrey, both Britain and Japan are sort of island nations.
Yes.
And do you think Japan is now, you said the introvert, more insular than 20 years ago?
That's a feeble excuse. That's looking for an excuse, Shu. This tiny nation in the North Sea, smaller than France or Germany, at one point in its life, governed half the world. It's people that matter, not being an island nation, not being a certain size, not being surrounded by sea. Those are excuses. That's typical of the Japanese who are trying to work out why this has happened. It's people that matter. You must expand more by going out more. Your young people must go out more. But strangely, I have to say, Shu, the young Japanese people I see in London are far more sophisticated than the generation before in every way. They are far more international. They are far more outgoing. So I was rather expecting this might now turn round. But you hit a particular point which is sensitive for an Englishman to talk about, because it's a tradition in this country that we don't talk about other people's politics. The best and most impressive people I have met in Japan have been in business.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
They haven't been in politics. Mm. And that is a loss for you. Japan Limited needs a very strong parliament and a strong prime minister. You've got the businessmen, you've got the businesses, some of the strongest in the world, and you're good at that. But a strong prime minister and a strong government gives confidence to the rest of the world.
That is exactly the problem which we are having in Japan. We do not have strong leaders in politics. We do not have strong prime ministers. And prime ministers keep changing every, say, 6 months.
That's you can't run. Like Italy.
That's terrible, yes. And as you pointed out, more intelligent people tend to go into business rather than politics. Now, in this country, do many very bright people go into politics rather than business?
The new intake in the British House of Commons is thought to be one of the best for many years. We have some of our best brains and some of our best people now going into politics. We have as an outstanding a young front bench and a young opposition front bench as I have ever seen. That at the moment that seems to be the very top people are. I have a friend who was reached the very top in business at the age of 35, 40, decided he'd go into the House of Commons and become a member of Parliament. He's Kurdish. Can you imagine a Kurd sitting in the Japanese Parliament? Yeah. Maybe that's what we're discussing. He is Kurdish. He's a businessman. He's bright. He went to London University. He's now sitting in the House of Commons. You want to use the best people you can. Don't worry about what race or religion they are. Go for the best people you can. Now, to be fair, and one must be fair about this, it's your strength as well as your weakness. One of the great Japanese strengths is you are one homogeneous nation. That's a great strength. And it means less crime, it means less other problems, it means more acting as a family, and that's impressive. Many of us envy that and admire the Japanese for that. But perhaps that, dare one say, is yesteryear. Perhaps that has gone, that era has gone, and we have to be more mixing, more stretching out to other people.
Recently, we tried to open up our country to other nations.
How have you done that?
Well, such as, for example, accepting more like medical helpers, say from Indonesia and other countries. Yeah. But of course, language is one big obstacle, as you know. And also national exam, which is very tough, even for Japanese. These foreigners have to pass to be able to work in Japan. So there are many, many obstacles.
Well, with doctors, that is right. Yeah. You can't have doctors picking up the wrong instrument because they don't know what the Japanese for scalpel is. No, that has to be right. It's a problem in this country that if you employ a doctor who doesn't speak perfect English, you can botch up an operation. I have no quarrel with that, but it is a problem.
That's right, yeah. Does your government have a sort of policy to accept more immigrants?
No, we're cutting down. We're trying to cut down. We've let too many people in. That is the reason I said this has its advantages and it has its disadvantages. Yes, you have the advantage of highly educated, determined, ambitious people. That's good. But on the other side of the coin, you have gangs of thieves and crooks, even murderers, who dominate as well. So you get the one good side and the one bad side. And the Japanese, I say, the one thing I admire so greatly about the Japanese is their crime rate is so low. And indeed, there is a definite correlation between the entry of immigrants and crime. You're not allowed to say it out loud,
No.
but it's a fact.
It is.
You're not allowed, it's non-politically correct to say it.
I understand.
But it's a fact. I always say both sides. You have better doctors, better businessmen, better everything, but you also take the other side. Okay, that's a risk the Japanese may not be willing to take. In which case, you'll have to settle for what I call being in Division 2. Whereas 20 years ago, Sony, Panasonic,
Right.
these companies were way ahead of everybody.
Toyota,
They had
Honda,
no
Canon,
idea.
all those.
Mind you, we are told that Toyota is now the best car in the world. A lot of people say to us that Toyota is the finest motor car on earth. So somebody's getting it right.
That's right.
イギリス人のジェフリー・アーチャー氏は世界での日本の影響力は落ちてきているという。海外で働く日本人の目に日本はどのように映っているのか。現在イギリスで働く日本人に海外から見た日本の印象を聞いた。
お三人に伺いたいんですが、どうですか、最近のその日本人、また日本国、それから日本の政治家なんかのそのイメージというか、どういうふうに見られてますかね。安高さんどうぞ。
日本のプレゼンスというのは確かに低くなってるというふうに英国にいて思います。まずそもそも日本のニュースがほとんど流れない。マスメディアにおいてもですね、日本の政治に対する無関心で、小泉さんが辞めてあと首相がコロコロ変わってますよね。さすがに最初に変わった時はですね、ニュースで結構大きく載ったんですね、はい、ところが最近のこの2回3回の変更に関してはですね、BBC あたりでも、数秒ちょこっと言うだけで、ほとんどニュースにすらならないと。という現状から見てですね、日本がいかに関心のない、政治面では関心のない国になっているかという証ではないかと思うんですね。でそれを見るにつけ、私は非常に憤慨とやるせなさを感じまして、そういう時に自分が日本人だなという逆にアイデンティティを感じるんですけども、
私もいまだもってね、英語がねペラペラ出てこないとかあるんですよ。でなぜかっていうとね、お前ここじゃ間違えたとかね、お前この複数形だから何とかしろとかね、そういう日本ってね、とにかく正解をね出さないとね罰んでしょ。だからね、いつもそれことが頭にあるもんだからね、間違っちゃいけないと思っちゃうわけよ。だから意見にしても英語にしてもみんなそうなんですよ。だから日本人がなかなか意見言えないのは、多分はこんなこと言ったら間違えちゃうんじゃないかとかね。だからそれが僕はね、日本の教育のね制度のね、僕は今日のね結果なんじゃないかなという気がしますね。だからそのね、異質なものを僕は入れるっていうのは一つ手だと思うんですね。例えば、こっちだとギャップイヤーっていうのがあるでしょ。それから移民を入れるっていうのも一つ手かもしれない。それからどっかねインターンに出るっていうのもいいかもしれないし、農業手伝うのもいいかもしれないですね。だからね、言ってみると日本はね、そういう道草を食わない制度なんですよ。だから私どんどん道草を食わしてね、でそれが必ず自分にペイバックするんだと、必ず長期で見ればね、いい人間として育つんだからね。でそういう焦らずね、学校入ったらすぐ入社試験だとかね、そんなこと考えないで、いろんなことを僕はね経験するようにねやってったら僕はいいんじゃないのかなと。
山口さんどうですか、日本のイメージは。
そうですね、日本人は、勤勉で真面目で、働き者、もうこの辺はなんていうかイメージとしてこちらの人っていうのは持ってると思うんですけど、日本のイメージとそれから日本人のイメージってちょっと違うと思うんですね。日本っていうと結構こちらにいる人っていうのは日本のものとか、最近ではお寿司のブームとかですね、そういう見えるものが日本のものだっていうことですごく評価しています。で質もいいし、車なり、家電なりですね、ユニクロさんも出てきていますし、質がいいと。ただ日本人のイメージって言われるとあんまりピンとこないんじゃないかなと。結構そのイメージっていうのは薄くなってるんじゃないかなと思います。やっぱり物とか見えるものが先行しちゃって、人のイメージっていうんですかね、インパクトっていうのが、 あんまりないなっていう気がします。
なんか悲しいですね、そういうお話を伺ってると。鶴見さん、じゃあ最後の締めに、元気になるようなお話をお願いします。
ですね、いやこれは率直に言うとね、もうタイムイズアップと言いますかね、もう今行動に起こさないとね、もうこれ先ないという感じだと思うんですよ。でこれってですね、今大変な危機感をね感じてる人っていうのはね、多分これ昔の経験をした人、いろんなその違う経験をした人だから見るとね、これは大変だと思ってるだけで、他の人たちはねこれでいいと思ってると思うんですね。ですからね、若い人たちがね、自分の周りとか、自分の親、それから学校も含めてね、いやこれでいいんだと、あなたたちはよく勉強してね、ちゃんと普通のいい大学出て企業に入ればいいんだっていうふうにだけ思ってたら、これは大きな多分ロスになると。いやこれはもっと違うことをやんなくちゃいけない、もっと違う行動を取ってなくちゃいけない、もっと違う経験をしなくちゃ俺たちはいけないんだと思わないといけないんだけど、そういうことをね言う人が周りにいなくなっちゃってるんだと思うんですね。よし、それじゃあ俺は前ればこうだけども、俺は違うふうにやってみようというふうにね思っていただきたいし、行動していただきたいと。でその時にですよ、